Yeah, it reminds me actually of when I used to live briefly in South Africa. I was looking into, hey, maybe I can now invest in the Johannesburg Stock Exchange. And then I was looking into it a little bit because I was thinking at the time we had this in South Africa, a new president coming in, Cyril Ramaphosa. It looked hopeful, especially compared to the disaster of the president that came before. And so I figured, you know what, I might be getting a little bit bullish on the South African economy, and importantly, sticking to your investor fundamentals, I think the South African economy might be underpriced, right? But then I was looking into this, and this is another thing that now we're talking about what I got from investing, but classes or finance. I was thinking, hey, maybe I should look at the correlation of the Joburg Stock Exchange with the South African economy. And then I found out, like, if you buy just the index of South Africa, right? That's the Johannesburg Stock Exchange. You're not buying the South African economy. What you're buying is a long position in commodities, because it's just so heavily, you have these massive mining companies. The stock exchange is just so massively exposed to the global economy that no. Does that story make sense to you as an investor?
Yeah. And like, kind of talking about Canada, I think you would very likely see a similar correlation with oil, right? When oil's doing well, we get our trade deficit improves. You would just see those variables impact how the country as a whole is performing, because oil and real estate and finances are so important to the economy. And, funny enough, Canada has a very small tech and healthcare sector. So, you can invest in tech and healthcare in Canada, but the broad index is very heavily weighted towards energy, finances, and real estate would be kind of some of the biggest ones. So yeah, and at the end of the day too, I've kind of touched on my channel. There's also some separation between the economy and the stock market as well. Like, the stock market is still just a subset of the broader economy. So even within biased economy, if you like, towards sectors, if you will, you can have even more bias at the stock market level, because in Canada, for example, we don't have many or a very large healthcare public market system, because we have public healthcare. It's not as profitable of an industry, but there might be private companies that aren't listed on the public stock exchange, that aren't reflected in that. So I'll just say that, yeah, it's hard to over. And that's the tricky thing about investing, is there's rarely a situation where one factor makes something a good investment case. Something like, well, I think this country is going to do well. That might not be enough to justify buying a company. It's always worth considering all the fundamentals of the underlying businesses as well. And to your point, all the different economic variables.